Now, a third goal trap is overwhelm. I talked about this in the introduction, where there's just so many things that we could do, that we feel like we should or ought to do, and maybe even so many things that we've been told. Now, going back to when my doctor's office called me, right? They gave me the fear tactic, and then the medical assistant threw all of this stuff at me. You need to eat a low-fat diet, avoid these foods, eat these foods, and like in a minute and a half, gave me a diet education. Now, honestly, I stopped listening, and I really feel like most people would, because it was a whole bunch of stuff just thrown at me without taking a chance to breathe, without taking a chance to ask me anything. And then at the end, she asked if I had any questions, right? So a minute and a half of rapid fire. Here's what you need to do. Do you have any questions? Right? And the average person is going to be like, nope, no questions. I noticed this when I worked clinically, when I worked as an inpatient dietitian. We had such limited time with a patient, and they typically, I mean, you're not in the hospital unless something just happened. And so we have this patient who did just have a heart attack, and now we're coming in and we're supposed to give them a diet education. That's all good and well, except when I teach my students, I teach that it's a one and done diet education. You go in there one time, you're supposed to provide everything that that patient needs, and then they get discharged and you don't see them again. It's a sad state of American healthcare. In an ideal world, we would give like emergency diet education. Here is what you need to know for the next week, and then come back to cardiac rehab, come back to an outpatient appointment, and let's work on what needs to be done. Now, in my situation, they should have at my doctor's office and my medical record that I am a dietitian. But instead of asking me what I already knew, instead of asking me what I'm already doing, they just threw a ton of information at me. And I feel like this is what happens a lot of the time, whether that's coming from your medical provider or it's coming from Google, right? There is so much information that just gets thrown at us, and we just become overwhelmed with where to start, what to do, and how to do it. And then our goals lack that focus. They become too big, too cluttered, and unachievable. Now, the next thing that keeps us from achieving our goals is the myth of motivation. Now, why do I call it a myth? Because motivation, the idea of motivation, is a trap in and of itself. People frequently think, I'll do it when I'm motivated, or I'm just not motivated to do it. But the reality is, motivation is not a cause. Motivation is an effect, right? If you know somebody who is motivated to get up every day and go for a 3-mile run, that's because they have consistently gotten up and gone on that 3-mile run to where now they have that innate motivation. However, it's not natural to want to go on a 3-mile run. It's not natural to be motivated, especially to do new things. Our brains are wired to do what we've always done. And our brains are wired to feel panic, feel anxiety, feel stress with change. So if you are trying to decrease the amount of times that you drive through the fast food restaurant, if you're trying to add new vegetables into your day, and this is not something that's new for you, you're probably not going to feel motivated past the first couple of days, right? You're going to have this idea that you want to do something, that you should do something, and it's going to give you motivation for not very long. And that motivation is going to fade. Then what do you do? So Walt Disney says the way to get started is to quit talking about something and begin doing. Maybe you've heard the statement, done is better than perfect, right? This is true when we're looking at our health goals. We need to just take the step. We need to get started and start working on achieving our goals. We may not be perfect. It may not work out the way we think it should, but we'll never know unless we get started.